wake me up to another good morning, time to go.
Are you ready to explore God's wild and wonderful world? Welcome to the Nat Theo podcast. I'm your host, Erin Lynham. I'm a certified master naturalist, Bible teacher, and author, and I am so excited to dive into God's written word, the Bible, and His created world with you. A few nights ago, as my family was enjoying dinner, we watched as 6 cedar waxwings landed in the tree outside of our front window. Cedar waxwings are beautiful songbirds that have tails that look like they are dipped in bright yellow wax. Cedar waxwings are very special to see. One reason for that is because they often land and then take off right away again. They do not stick around for long. But the cedar waxwings in our tree the other night, they stayed while we ate dinner, and I kept looking out to check and see if they were still there. And sure enough, they were. I was pretty confused as to why they did not take to the skies and continue on their way like they normally do. After dinner, we watched them through our spotting scope, kind of like a big binocular. And as we looked at them, we saw that they were sleeping. We watched even as the wind picked up and shook the branches that the cedar waxwings were perched on. But they were sound asleep and they held firmly to the tree, swaying back and forth in the wind without even opening their eyes. The cedar waxwings had chosen our tree to sleep in for the night, and we felt honored. Now, birds are known for flying, but what about when a bird needs to sleep? Most birds will land to sleep, some on the ground, like a goose, and others, like the cedar waxwing, in trees or bushes. But today, we are going to learn about a very special bird that does not need to land in order to sleep. Here is our trail map.
Are you ready?
We are going to learn how does a sleeping bird not fall out of its tree? And what is the great frigatebird? We will discover how does a great frigatebird sleep while flying, and how can we filter what we let into our minds. Before we hit the trail, let's thank our sponsors who made this lesson possible, including CTC Math. Math used to be a struggle in our home, but CTC Math has equipped my kids to excel and grow in their math knowledge and skills, while giving us more time to adventure outside. With CTC Math's easy online dashboard, to-the-point video lessons, and interactive questions, I have seen my kids master math skills and grow in confidence. And with their detailed progress reports, I know exactly how my kids are doing and where they might need a little bit of extra help. CTC Math has freed us from math frustration and given us a clear path forward. Try CTC Math's K through 12th grade lessons for free at ctcmath.com or at the link in our show notes. This lesson is also made possible by Apologia Curriculum. They invite us into the wonders of creation right at home while inspiring us to adventure out in nature. Their Zoology 3 Land Animals course provides the perfect inspiration for going out and looking for all of God's amazing land creatures. Apologia always teaches from a biblical worldview. This means that while we are adventuring through their exciting and easy to understand textbooks, recording our discoveries in student journals, and remembering our lessons through hands-on activities, we are also learning life lessons about our faith and following God. Explore all of Apologia's award-winning science curriculum and courses at apologia.com or at the link in our show notes. All right, listeners, here is today's trivia question. We are going to learn about an incredible bird called the great frigatebird. And our trivia question is, how many eggs does a great frigatebird lay? Take a guess and we will find out at the end of today's lesson. And Nat Theo Club members, be sure to click over at the end of this lesson to the bonus video. Hear a story of when my kids and I participated in a bird watching competition. See some of the birds that we found and learn a quick and easy way to help you start or continue bird watching and identifying birds. You can find that bonus video in the link in the show notes or in your Nat Theo Club dashboard. And listeners, if you would like access to our weekly bonus videos, lesson activity guides, nature devotions, and summer scavenger hunts, you can access all of that in the Nat Theo Club at the link in our show notes. A few minutes ago, as you listened to my story about the cedar waxwings in our front tree, maybe you had a question that I long wondered about. How does a bird not fall out of a tree while it is sleeping? I mentioned that the wind was blowing and the tree branches were shaking with the birds sleeping on them. Have you ever seen this? Maybe you or someone you know has fallen out of bed while sleeping before. Sometimes we are so deep in sleep that we might not even notice that we're rolling around and could fall out of bed. So how does a bird not fall out of a tree while sleeping, especially if that tree is being shaken by the wind? God designed birds with a very special mechanism, kind of like a natural machine in their feet. When a bird perches on its branch, its legs and feet work together to cause their foot to grip tightly to the branch, kind of like their foot is giving the branch a very tight hug. A bird can do this because of something in its legs and feet called tendons. Tendons connect muscles to bones. They are kind of like an elastic cord made from a material called collagen. Tendons make it so that when our muscles move, the connected bones also move. Tendons are an incredible design that God made so that our bodies and the bodies of creatures can move well. Birds have special tendons in their legs and feet that help them not fall out of trees. When a bird lands on a branch and puts weight on its feet, the muscles in their legs work with the tendons, which cause their feet to grip tightly to the branch. The bird does not really think about doing this. It's a reflex, meaning that it happens automatically. It's how God designed them. It is the crouching position that causes their feet to grip to the branch, and their feet will not let go of that branch until they straighten their legs again, which releases the grip. So this is how the cedar waxwings clung to our tree without falling out of it as they were sleeping, even when the wind was blowing the tree. Their feet were firmly gripped to the branches, thanks to the tendons in their legs and feet. The next time you see a bird land in a tree, watch it closely. Can you see the bird making a crouching motion? Its legs bend, and those tendons in their feet tighten so that their feet can firmly grip the branch. But not all birds land in trees to sleep. Some birds sleep on the ground. Can you think of any birds that might do that? Birds that sleep on the ground include waterfowl, which includes ducks, geese, and swans, along with some shorebirds. Now we are going to meet a bird that can actually sleep while flying. Birds can sometimes have silly common names. A common name is kind of like a nickname that many people know an animal by. And the bird we are about to meet definitely has a silly common name. It is called the great frigatebird, not to be confused with a very similar species called the magnificent frigatebird. The great frigatebird is a large seabird. But how big is it exactly? When we look at how large a bird is, we often use a measurement called wingspan. Wingspan is how long a bird is from the tip of one wing to the tip of the other wing when their wings are spread out, like when they're flying. A great frigatebird's wingspan can be about 7.5 feet, or around 2.3 meters. That means that if an adult human was lying down on the floor and a great frigatebird laid sideways next to them with its wings spread out, its wingtips would be longer than the human is tall. So the great frigate bird is quite large, and it is mostly black. The adult males, or the boy birds, they are black, while the adult females have a white patch on their chest. What might be the most distinct or unique thing about how the frigate bird looks is that the males have a bright red goaler sac. A goaler sac is kind of like a pouch that some birds have on their throats. It is made from skin that extends down from their lower jaw, like the bottom of their mouth, down to their neck. The goaler sac, or sometimes called the goaler pouch, can get bigger, kind of like an inflating balloon, and it has no feathers on it. Birds with goaler sacs use them to catch and store prey, like fish. Pelicans, another large bird, also have goaler sacs for this purpose. The male frigate bird, he doesn't only use his bright red goaler sac for storing fish in. He also inflates it like a big, bright red balloon on his throat in order to attract females. So a male great frigate bird truly is unique looking, with its large 7 or so feet wingspan, jet black appearance, and bright red balloon-looking goaler sac on its throat. The great frigate bird lives along tropical and subtropical coasts around the Americas, and they're native to Hawaii, which is their northernmost breeding area. The great frigate bird stops to sleep in trees or cliffs. However, they don't always have to stop in order to sleep. One very special and unique thing about the great frigate bird is that it can sleep while flying. Have you ever heard of a bird sleeping while flying? That's pretty crazy to think about. Most birds are designed to fly, and once the young birds have braved jumping out of their nests and learning to fly, they are naturals at it. But sleeping while flying, that's a whole different skill set, and the great frigate bird is a master at it. And get this, the great frigate bird is so good at this that it can remain in the air flying for up to 2 months at a time without landing. Did you catch that? It can keep flying for up to 2 months without landing. This is a very helpful skill for the great frigate bird when it comes to making long journeys across ocean waters, especially because the great frigate bird can't swim. That's right. Unlike most shorebirds, the great frigate bird cannot swim. Its feathers are not waterproof. While most seabirds can stop and rest in the water, the great frigate bird cannot. It must keep flying. Can you imagine a seabird that cannot swim? But God has designed it with this unique way of staying in the air as long as it needs to, by resting while in flight. But how exactly does it sleep while flying? The great frigate bird uses something called unihemispheric sleep.
Huh?
Whoa, that is a strange term. We know, of course, what sleep is, but what about unihemispheric? What is that? Can you say it? Unihemispheric. Let's break it down. Una or uni means one. Hemispheric refers in this case to a brain. Brains have 2 halves or 2 hemispheres, the right and the left. So unihemispheric kind of means 1/2 of a brain. Unihemispheric sleep is when a creature, in this case the great frigate bird, sleeps with about 1/2 of its brain. The bird allows part of its brain to rest, while the other part of its brain is still awake and alert enough to stay safe while flying. Isn't that incredible? Scientists believe the great frigate bird uses this strategy to take short power naps while flying. Think about this. There is a great frigate bird on a long journey, and it's tired. There are no trees or cliffs around in order for it to land and rest. And of course, it can't fly down and land on the water because it is not able to swim. So it allows part of its brain to go to sleep. In this way, the great frigate bird is filtering out any information that it does not need to know. But what does that word filter mean? A filter is something that allows some things through, but not all things. You might think of a water filter in your fridge or that you use while out hiking. It allows clean water to go through while trapping and keeping out anything that might be harmful. Or if your parent or caregiver makes coffee in a coffee pot, they probably use a coffee filter that allows the water to go through without grounds getting into their coffee. So the great frigate bird filters out what it does not need to know, but it is still alert enough, awake with half of its brain to avoid predators and obstacles in the sky. Along with the great frigate bird, some other creatures are designed with this ability to sleep with half of their brains, including whales, dolphins, and seals. They can swim while sleeping using unihemispheric sleep. Other birds also use unihemispheric sleep, mostly to stay partly alert while sleeping in their roost or nest in order to stay safe from predators. Mallard ducks, for example, use unihemispheric sleep so they can stay alert to danger while getting some rest. Can you imagine if a great frigate bird was on a long journey and it was awake and alert, thinking about every little thing going on around it while flying? Imagine the bird has been flying for a long time and it's very tired. And now it has a million things running through its mind, including every tree on the ground, the wind direction at any moment, sounds from cars or trains or a city, cloud shapes, every other bird in the air, and every smell wafting through the air. That would be exhausting. By resting part of its brain and keeping only the other part of its brain awake and alert, it can pay attention to what truly matters. Listener, in a way, we should become like the great frigate bird. What do I mean by that? Well, we have a whole lot of information coming at us every day. And as you grow older, you will have even more information coming your way. Think about all the information we receive from media, books, music, social media, advertisements, the news, and even friends and family. As you get older, you will have the opportunity to choose what kind of devices and media you want to use. And as you make those decisions, you are also choosing what kind of information and how much information you want to allow into your mind. As you make those choices, I want to challenge you to be like the great frigate bird. Decide to filter out what you do not need to know. Here are some ways that I do that in my life. I choose to use very few applications on my phone, and only the ones that I can use for work and to stay in contact with my closest friends and family. I also choose very carefully what emails I subscribe to make sure that they are good for me and not just distracting or making me want things I don't have. I also choose wisely what news I follow because I want to stay alert to what's going on in the world, but not receive a whole lot of information that might be untrue or that I might not need to know. In fact, I mainly only follow news from World Watch News program that keeps my kids and me in the loop about world news, but from a biblical worldview. You see, if we are not careful to filter out what we do not need to know, or what might only be distracting or harmful, then our minds just get too full. We might get distracted from God's plans and purposes. When our minds are too full or full of wrong or unhelpful things, we cannot follow or serve God as well. We also might become tired or overwhelmed by too much information. Proverbs 4:23 says, "Be careful what you think, because your thoughts run your life." You see, we can be careful about what we think by making sure we are filtering out information we do not need and only allowing good, helpful, and truthful things into our minds. Listener, let me be clear. Gathering wisdom and knowledge is a great pursuit. We always want to learn more about God's truth in His scriptures and about His wonderful creation in His wild and wonderful world. But we need to be careful and protect our minds from things that are distracting or that we just don't need. When you are deciding what kind of information to take in, use the Philippians 4:8 test. Philippians 4:8 says, "Brothers and sisters, think about the things that are good and worthy of praise. Think about the things that are true and honorable and right and pure and beautiful and respected." So what is the Philippians 4:8 test? Whenever there is information coming at you, maybe from a book or social media or an advertisement or a comic, ask these questions. Is it good and worthy of praise? Is it true and honorable? Is it right and pure? And finally, is it beautiful and respected? There are many great books, including many classics, along with great movies, comics, and music that pass the Philippians 4:8 test. Listener, finally, as a reminder, when you get older, you will get to choose many new things to allow into your life, including devices and media. Keep the Philippians 4:8 test handy and remember the great Frigatebird. Filter the kind of content or information and how much content and information you allow into your mind so that you can better rest in God's peace and stay focused on His plans and purposes. It's time now to answer a question from one of our listeners. Here's today's question.
Hi, I am Theo, and I'm 6 years old, and I live in Pennsylvania, and I want to know how Spiritbird got their name.
That is a great question, Theo. How did spirit bears get their name? We mentioned spirit bears way back on lesson 9, but we did not talk about how they got their name. So let's do that now. Spirit bears are bears that live in British Columbia, Canada. They are a kind of black bear that are born with white fur. Native Americans believed that spirit bears were extra special because they were not common, and they looked, well, kind of ghost-like. For every 40 black bears born in British Columbia, one will be a spirit bear with white fur. Scientists suspect that there may be more than 400 white black bears in the wild. Even though these bears are white, they are not polar bears or albino bears. Let's look at the differences. Polar bears are much larger bears that live in the Arctic. They are always white, and so are their cubs. Albino animals are born without color in their skin, hair, or feathers. Albino animals can be born from typically colored parents. Albinos are more uncommon than a white black bear. Remember, 1 out of every 40 black bears born in the British Columbia area are a white spirit bear. But albinos are 1 out of 10,000 births. Albino bears look very different with reddish pink eyes, ears, and nose. While the spirit bear looks just like the black bear but has white fur. Its nose, eyes, lips, and paws are brown, just like its black, furry relatives. If you ever get a chance to visit British Columbia, Canada, make sure to look for a white black bear named the spirit bear. Thanks for your great question, Theo. Stay curious about God's wild and wonderful world. And Nat Theo Club members, be sure to click over at the end of this lesson to our bonus video. Hear a story of when my kids and I participated in a bird watching competition. See some of the birds that we found that day, and learn a quick and easy way to help you start or continue birdwatching and identifying birds. You can find that bonus video at the link in our show notes or in your Nat Theo Club dashboard. All right, it's time to answer our trivia question. How many eggs does a great frigate bird lay? The great frigate bird is not only unique in the way it sleeps while flying and has a bright red goaler sac, it's also unique among birds in that it only lays one egg in a breeding season. Both parents care for the single chick, and they will help feed that chick for over a year. That is a lot longer than most bird parents care for their young. Now it's your turn to explore. Look for a unique bird you have never seen before. The great frigate bird is so very unique in how it looks, lays only one egg at a time, and definitely in how it rests while flying. Go on a bird walk, maybe in your neighborhood or in a special ecosystem like a beach, the river, or through the woods, and see if you can spot a bird that you are not familiar with. Maybe take a bird identification book or use an app like Merlin Bird ID to see if you can identify that bird. Thank you so much for listening. If you enjoyed this lesson on the great frigate bird, please take a moment to send it to a friend. And subscribe, rate, and review Nat Theo wherever you listen. Until next time, keep exploring God's wild and wonderful world.